It's my duty to bring to the attention of the people of Kenya on several issues of concern that affects the well-being of our nation. One is the harassment of small-scale gas traders sanctioned by William Ruto. Number two is a plot to rig the 2027 general elections using the Korean Meru Technologies Limited system. Targeted harassment of small-scale gas traders. I've on several occasions brought to the attention of Kenyans on the systematic economic sabotage, deliberate harassment, state-sanctioned extortion, and impoverishment of the people of Kenya by this regime. Lost on its mandate and promises made in 2022, the regime is hell-bent to impoverish the very small-scale traders and the people on whose pedestal it ran. Today, I want to speak to millions of small-scale traders in the gas industry who have, for the last few weeks, reached out to me after months of oppression and an extortion cartel. But before then, let me remind the people of Kenya that this regime was founded on the philosophy of bottom-up economic transformation agenda. But over the last 4 years, the regime is doing the exact opposite. The small trader, the Kenyan retailer, who was supposed to be moved from the bottom of the economic pyramid, now the retailer has been moved to the bottomless pit. Kenya has between 4 million to 5 million micro and small retail enterprises who hold dukas, kiosks, and market stores. They form a majority of neighborhood shops supplying daily household goods. This number is well over 60% of the medium and small enterprises market base. On 2nd March 2023, at the Kenyatta International Conference Center, William Ruto, during the launch of the Women Enterprise Fund, in the presence of hundreds of women, made the famous Mutungi ya gas promise that the price of the 6 kg gas cylinder would trade between 300 to 500 Kenya shillings from the then 2,800. This was to be effective from June 2023. Little did we know that he was planning to raid the trade and dominate it. For the last 2 years, small-scale gas dealers have been put under ruthless state-sanctioned seizure, systematic harassment, and a total subversion of the regulatory framework and the guidelines for the retail of liquefied petroleum gas in cylinders. Let me break it down as this is happening. In June 2025, the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Edward Lagat, formed a clandestine police unit, which is stationed in Hurlingham, Nairobi, formerly known as the Heart Center. This police station is not gazetted. It is called the Black Site, as it's popularly known. It has an armory, a clandestine budget, and a multi-rank police command with Mr. Robert Linyiru Gituma serving as the OSPD. There are other ranks of SSP, OCS, Deputy OCS, OC Crime, and 25 rogue officers in the rank of constable. This unit operates under private supervision of a private citizen, Mr. Cleve Mutiso. Mr. Mutiso is always in the field brandishing firearms and threatening small-scale traders, doing illegal inspections, ordinarily the duties of the Energy Police Station in Kawi House, Nairobi. Between June and October 2025, this vigilante group operating with impunity raided Nairobi, Kiambu, Kajiado, and Machakos small-scale gas retailers using private vehicles and private lorries. They took away with them over 200,000 gas cylinders. No single inventory was done, no OB entry was recorded, and nobody was taken to court. Where are these 200,000 gas cylinders? These overseers officers report directly to DIG Langat, and they are indeed untouchable. On March 10, 2025, EPRA in a letter reference EPRA stroke PEACP stroke SE stroke 1 stroke CO stroke PM declared itself the sole enforcement agency in this sector. However, the vigilante group under DIG Langat and Mr. Mutiso get direct support from one Deputy Director of Surveillance and Enforcement, Major Retired Agostino Uma, who shares crucial intelligence and points of sale for the licensed small-scale traders. I'm aware that on 21st August 2025, the small-scale gas retailers in Kenya, who are over 500,000, wrote to President William Ruto on this matter under letter reference MBN/GAN/97/25. Again on 1st April 2026, under reference MISC/2026, they wrote again to President William Ruto. After these letters, the harassment has more than doubled. Hithato, the pain is more. When Eliud Langat deployed this team to North Rift, Nyanza, and Western regions, they forcibly took away gas cylinders and vehicles and put them at the Kakamega police station. When they illegally wanted to prosecute the matter, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution via letter reference ODPP/KAK/CAM/1/069, dated 18th October 2025, stated that this operation was carried out without notice to EPRA and therefore improper per Section 11E of the Energy Act 2019. The above is just one of the cases of brutal and constant harassment, arbitrary and unlawful arrest, and unlawful enforcement procedures against LPG traders. It must be clearly noted that no LPG trader is against any regulations and laws. The question is harassment, arbitrary arrests, illegal seizure of gas cylinders, and extortion by DIG Langat and his militia. We note that when the current acting EPRA DG, one Dr. Okech, is seemingly overcompromised and accomplice or not in charge of EPRA, the raids have been intensified by Mr. Cliff Mutiso and DIG Eliud Lagat. We have evidence that the seized gas cylinders are channeled to private and upcoming LPG enterprises owned by politicians and other state actors. One of these farms is in Kitengela, and Kenyans saw these gas cylinders during the Olkalau by-election, and your guess is as good as mine on who owns this enterprise. The people of Kenya are over 500,000 traders of LPG gas demand as follows: that the inhuman treatment and physical assault of small-scale traders by this vigilante group be stopped immediately, and the black site in Hurlingham, the illegal police station, be shut down forthwith. Number 2, legal action be taken against Mr. Mutiso, Deputy Inspector General Eliud Langat, the command of this ungazetted police station, and the 25 clandestine rogue police officers. Number 3, the 200,000 gas cylinders seized before they returned and to the affected traders compensated as per the law. Number 4, the rogue EPRA officers led by Major Retired Agostino Uma and the Acting Director General Kech be investigated and prosecuted for abuse of office and subversion of regulations. 5, that the legal framework and guidelines in the trade of liquefied petroleum gas be observed and followed to the letter. Finally, we are adequately informed that this LPG gas harassment of small gas traders has more than it meets the eye. William Ruto, through Ashirami Synergy, a company closely associated with him, wants to introduce a deal like the petroleum's G2G ragtag to completely drive out other players and free market in the LPG sector. We are also aware of other commercial interests of William Ruto in the LPG sector. 1, he owns Surge Energy Limited, a leading manufacturer of gas cylinders in Kenya, situated in Kitengela. This is where the gas cylinders for Olkalau were repainted and repackaged for distribution in Olkalau. 2, he owns Taifa Gas, a 45,000 metric tons liquefied petroleum gas, LPG import and storage terminal at the Dogo Kudu Special Economic Zone in Mombasa, now under construction. Mr. Ruto has given instructions to transfer the track and trace function from the regulator to eCitizen to allow the procurement and onboarding of the LARU which he has purchased. For track and trace through eCitizens, we undertake the digital tracking of gas cylinders in the market. This contract is being awarded to LARU, and we all know that William Ruto owns LARU. Mr. William Ruto, please leave small-scale traders alone. You have taken too much. And again, we kindly ask you, how much is enough? The Kenya Integrated Election Management System. Kenyans, you'll bear witness that I have spoken to the Iebc chairman, Mr. Erastus Ethekon, in my capacity as a leader in this country and as a responsible citizen on several electoral matters. I have advised him that Iebc has had image and trust issues, and the people of Kenya for a long time know that. I have taken the trouble further and reminded him of the 2007/2008 inactions and actions of the then ECK, Electoral Commission of Kenya, and the resultant chaos and mayhem in the country. Bwana Ethekon knows how controversial his appointment was and to whom he pays his allegiance to. Nevertheless, the country has 55 million Kenyans. Mr. Ethekon has a choice to make: stand with Kenyans, the 55 million of them, or choose to burn this country. He lives around and he knows the people of Kenya. From the outset, Kenyans hold the view that his commission and himself are an appendage of William Ruto. And they are biased and do so to serve his political playbook. He has not spoken to this matter, and he will not, and you all know why. Mr. Ethekon is well aware that when he was named as Iebc chairman, he lived in a rented apartment. Mr. Kimani Ichung'wah, the leader of majority, told a group of public officials that they procured a house for Mr. Ethekon in Karen at 200 million shillings. Mr. Ethekon is yet to respond to this matter. You are aware that on 11th August 2026, tender reference number IBC/OIT/01/2026-2027 for the supply, delivery, installation, testing, commissioning, support and maintenance of the Integrated Elections Management System, hardware, equipment and accessories was advertised and is to close on September 1st, 2026 at 10 a.m. You are all aware that Kenyans do not know is that the tender process and the result has already been preconceived and is awaiting rubber stamping to Miru, M-I-R-U, Systems Company Limited of South Korea. Mr. Chairman Ethekon, it is within your knowledge and mischief that what is actually happening is a mundane public relations exercise to manage the other bidders and 55 million Kenyans. Mr. Chairman, you are aware that to facilitate this activity, Iebc commissioners fired the procurement manager in Iebc and installed a puppet to manage this tender. Mr. Chairman and your Vice Chairman, Fahima Arfat Abdallah, have been compromised as the drivers of this tender process against the concurrence and the wishes of the other commissioners. Mr. Chairman, this is not the first time I'm raising an alarm on your Vice Chairperson. You will recall that during the by-elections in Magarini last year, this same Vice Chairperson was largely involved in the malpractices, and I made the matter public. You did nothing about it. This confirms that she was holding your brief and that you are the appointing authority. Mr. Chairman, with your concurrence, the PS for Interior, Remo Domolo, the PS for Immigration and Citizen Affairs, Mr. Belio Kipsang, have held meetings with Miru Systems Company Limited of South Korea. They are in the process of giving to the company access to the country's voter registration database for integration purposes. But Kenyans are asking, who is Meru System Company Limited? This is a South Korean company with a very bad history of rigging elections across the world. Their global failures are well documented, having faced allegations of faulty technology in Argentina, Philippines, and the DRC, where they deploy their equipment and technology. In 2018, Meru Systems Company Limited supplied BVR kits to the Democratic Republic of Congo. Reports show that they delivered the election equipment 6 months late. Following the controversy, the South Korean government publicly distanced itself from this company. In the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2023, election observers reported that up to 45% of polling stations experienced equipment malfunctions, and this potentially excluded 17 million Congolese from voting. Again in Congo, illegible voters' cards were used and actual voters were removed from the roll of voters. Following Congo's 2018 and 2023 polls, the U.S. Treasury Department placed election commissions, then President and 2 of his deputies under sanctions for undermining the democratic process of institutions. In 2024, in the Philippines, the mock elections conducted using Meru's technology encountered fatal flaws. Many organizations, especially human rights groups, rejected Meru's explanations, pointing to unresolved security and reliability issues. It is beyond discussions that Kenya would ever even imagine having such a vendor for our 2027 general elections. During the October 2024 parliamentary elections in Iraq's Kurdistan region, election monitors claimed that voting machines in up to 70 to 75% of stations malfunctioned by failing to properly record and transmit results. Iraq's Board of Supreme Audit raised red flags and warned the Election Commission about systems' credibility just days before the vote. Following the election, various political blocs in Iraq claimed the machines were hacked or manipulated, triggering widespread political tension and a mandated manual recount. The Meru plan in Kenya, as directed by William Ruto. Under the instructions of William Ruto, Meru Technologies has been instructed to prepare a new voters register and suppress voters from the following regions perceived to be against this regime. 1, Western Kenya; 2, Nyanza region, but in Kisii and Nyamira counties; 3, the Mount Kenya region; 4, Lower Eastern; 5, Nairobi; 6, Taveta and Namu; 5, Rift Valley in Nakuru, Laikipia, Kajiado, and Narok. We appeal to our development partners and embassies accredited to the Republic of Kenya to take note of this threat to Kenya's electoral democracy. The company should be banned and never allowed to manage any election or supply its equipment and technology to this country. I would like to challenge Iebc to confirm if the technical specifications in the tender have not been specifically crafted and tailor-made around the profile of Meru Systems technology. The Iebc must tell Kenyans whether this procurement process is in line with provisions of Article 227 of the Constitution and Section 60 and 61 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. Further, we are asking, what was and is the role of the Cabinet Secretary for Mining, Ali Joho, and Vice Chairman of Iebc Commissioner Fahima Arfat Abdallah in this tender process? Can Iebc produce documentary evidence showing who drafted the technical specifications for tender number IBC/OIT/01/26/27, including all internal committee meetings, technical working papers, market surveys, approval records, and explain why the specifications mirror the capabilities associated with a single supplier identified in the market, rather than being expressed as performance-based and vendor-neutral requirement. Before publishing the tender, what market analysis did Iebc undertake to establish the multiple qualified manufacturers or system integrators could realistically satisfy every mandatory technical requirement, and how many suppliers were identified as capable of meeting the specifications without requiring exceptions or waivers. How come and why did the IEBC formulate mandatory experience and qualification requirements that absolutely correspond with the operational history of Meru Technologies, instead of adopting proportionate, objective, and outcome-based eligibility criteria as required under the Procurement Act? And what technical justification exists for each restrictive qualification? What a clever coincidence, Mr. Ethicon. How come and why does the tender document contain numerous provisions requiring IEBC to insert, specify, or determine technical standards later, which stimulously imposing rigid mandatory requirements elsewhere? And how can bidders prepare comparable and responsive tenders where essential specifications remain undefined or internally contradictory? Why did the IEBC require a tender security of 30 million shillings while failing to disclose sufficient information regarding the quantities, commercial scope, estimated procurement value, or the budgetary basis necessary to demonstrate compliance with Section 61 of PPADA, and how are bidders expected to assess commercial risk under those circumstances? Finally, given that the Constitution requires procurement to be fair, equitable, transparent, competitive, and cost-effective, what safeguards did IEBC implement during the drafting stage to ensure that no manufacturer's proprietary, architecture, certification profile, or product ecosystem, including that associated with the Meru systems, was embedded into the mandatory specifications in a manner that excluded otherwise qualified competitors? Kenyans should also be made aware that William Ruto's captured parliament has deliberately delayed the passing of the Elections Amendment Bill 2024 that contains provisions that touch on technology. Specifically, the bill proposes that the supplier of KIMS technology must grant IEBC intellectual property rights and ownership over the system. Senate passed the bill, but it has been pending in the National Assembly. We all know why. It is also not lost on Kenyans that recent changes in the ownership of Durb Kenya Limited is directly linked to the ongoing electoral fraud that will be deployed in August 2027. Durb Kenya Limited is a security printer with the technical capacity to print election materials locally. I am persuaded that William Ruto's recent investment in Durb Kenya Limited is part of the rigging game plan that has now been put into play. No wonder, despite all the indications from independent scientific polling and intelligence assessment that show a William Ruto loss, he is confident that he'll whitewash any opposition and extend his kleptocracy for a further 5 years. Vulnerable and defective electoral voting technology threatens electoral transparency and the credibility of an electoral process. Any attempt to change the election management system technology less than 11 months to the 2027 general election is a recipe for failure and chaos. The real mischief of IEBC, as directed by William Ruto, is to interfere with the voter register during the digital migration of data from the Smartmatic KIMS to the Meru technology kits. This they intend to do the last minute so that there is no room for corrections. This will cause massive vote rigging and voter suppression in some areas. Good people, that is what we needed to say about the harassment of small-scale traders in LPG gas trade and the attempt to bring this technology from South Korea that has failed everywhere, and specifications are tailor-made. And I've been told that the technology will cost 6.5 billion, up from the 4 billion the current system is charging, creating a 2.5 billion bribe to the IEBC commissioners and their cronies. Kenyans must resist this. Finally, I want to say, I want to go to Kikuyu constituency. The last time I was there, Kimani Ichung'wah unleashed violence on the people of Kikuyu, and the police were part of that violence. I'm told Kimani Ichung'wah was having a meeting this morning at 5 a.m. with the Dagoretti South MP, Mheshimiwa Kiarie, to plan on how to attack the people of Kikuyu. I want to ask the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kaja, to provide security to that meeting, and his officers should not be part of violence that as they were last time. In fact, after goons were unable to attack our meeting the last time we were in Kikuyu, it is the police themselves who attacked our meeting. And I've been saying police have become goons. Kikuyu police station is a scene of crime. The OCS there, Mr. Mulwa, is a chief goon and works with Kimani Ichung'wah to cause violence against the people. So we'll be in Kikuyu this afternoon, and we ask the AG to provide security. We ask the OCS Kikuyu not to unleash violence against innocent people. Kenya is a democracy. To let people have their meeting and sell their agenda. After we leave, Kimani Ichung'wah can have another meeting tomorrow or the day after and sell his agenda. And you know, Kimani Ichung'wah is also very busy. Coercing my church, the PCA, to go and meet William Ruto. He is trying to organize with the Secretary General of PCA 2,000 church leaders to go and meet William Ruto at State House to take bribes. They want 300 million to pay some loans the church owe, and each participant want to be bribed with some 20,000 shillings. So instead of raiding our meetings, you know, take time to work on the PCA delegation. Go and, you know, mobilize PCA church leaders, take them to State House to be bribed. And we asking our PCA clerics as a member of the church, please just go and take the money. The matter is there. We as members will not be persuaded by yourself that even if William Ruto through bribery persuades you to back him and to support him, we as members of the church will not be moved, will not be persuaded. So good people, I want to thank you for coming. I know we were with you yesterday. I did not give this information because I didn't have the full details, especially on the Iebc. It was very, very critical that Kenyans know exactly what is happening. So I want to thank you for coming. And I'll see you when I come back after a while. In the meantime, to tell Kenyans what is happening. I will be off completely myself. Viongozi wamejaa inchi. Wakave vizuri, waeleze what is happening. Our Secretary General here will hold brief for me. When he calls you, please come so that he can keep the fire burning and we can continue telling the people of Kenya what is happening. Asante sana. Do you want to add something? Sasa? Yes. Yes. Iebc, inside Iebc. You know what is happening? Emmanuel. And you have noticed, Kenyans are very patriotic. That is why Rikichi has a lot of information. And Kenyans have come to trust me. You know, previously, leaders in the opposition will be given privileged information of a confidential nature. And they use it to trade with the government to get money and other favors. Rikichi is a patriot. Any information given by the people of Kenya, I give it to the public, and it has helped to a great extent to stem some of these excesses. This information has been given to me by officials within Iebc. This tender was tailor-made. The specifics were made in a way, the specs, that nobody else can win this tender other than this South Korean. And you'll see. I'm told even the competitors have gone to the Procurement Appeals Tribunal to say, no, you cannot do specs that are tailor-made for a company. And I want now to challenge you as the media to go to Iebc, ask for the specs in this tender. Then Google and get what this South Korean firm has. And you'll find word to word, sentence by sentence, requirement by requirement. It's a fraud. And I want to thank IEBC officials who have looked for me, great patriots of this country, who don't want anybody to mess with this country. And they are saying it is not possible to have a new system within the remaining time of 11 months. When do you do digital migration? When even tender now has been not been awarded. By the time it is awarded, they come, digital migration. The elections are here. There is no time to interrogate. I want to recommend that the current system of mathematics be retained, because already they have the data, they have the experience, and we have seen them do elections. I saw in Olokalao, the system was quite okay. I don't think we have a problem with this system of mathematics, but it is not possible to have a new system to manage our elections between now and the election, 11 months. Because they will have to migrate the data from mathematics to the new company. Why do we have to get data from a company that is already in the country and give it to a new entrant? What is the gain? They have already done the donkey work. They have all the data. They have the voters register. Why do you want to move that data to a new company? That is where the mischief is. They want to interfere with the voters register, especially in areas where William Ruto has been rejected. I've read the areas where they want to interfere. And they are working with PS Remo Domolo and Belio Kipsang, who are the custodians of IDs and the data of people who are registered to be Kenyans. And that is where there is mischief, and will not agree. And I want to thank the IEBC officials who brought this matter to my attention. Yes, we'll see how it goes. If they insist of awarding this tender to this company, we'll challenge it, because it's not going to happen. We will not allow it. Because it's totally absurd. And you can see the intention. It is clear that it is, and this is a company that has failed in every country they have been. So why do you want to bring failure from other countries to Kenya? We cannot accept. Thank you very much. Nafikiri hiyo inatosha. Ndio. Yes. File to who? If DIG Langat is a suspect, you file to who? You can only talk to the Kenyan public. Utashitaki DIG Langat kwa nani? Yeye hata ndio mkubwa ya Kaja. Kaja is the IG, but he takes orders from Langat. Where will you report Langat? You know what happened in Central Police Station, where somebody is in court after he gave instructions. Nothing was done to him, alirudishwa kwa ofisi. So sisi kazi yetu ni kushtaki hao kwa raia. Lakini next year tutapeleka hao kotini. Lakini for now we report them to the Kenyan people. Asanteni sana, thank you very much. Asante.
Kwa timba kali za Afrika, Durb Radio ndio mpango mzima.